It should. It should show up. Now, you know what they say. They say,
What do they say?
The early bird catches the worm. Welcome to the train station, all of you early birds.
Where
Those
did
of you
that- where did
who,
that
who
come
have
from?
been hanging, I don't know.
Oh,
I just
for
thought it'd be
people
funny
being
to-
early, okay.
Yeah, they're the early birds. And if I could do the worm, I would move into.
We should put the train station camera on, and you should try to do the worm for everyone.
Okay, just this is a special treat just for you guys.
You're actually gonna do it? Oh
Yeah,
my god,
I'll try
I'm
it.
liking this. I'm gonna.
Okay. I'm on camera. You ready? Oh, I don't really know how to.
Oh,
worm.
I feel like you need to try it again. Oh,
See,
I feel
I-
like you're not supposed to hit the ground.
I don't
that
know.
hard.
Yeah, I'm not a dancer. Well, I mean,
He
I'm
is.
not a-
He actually is not a dancer.
I'm not a
everyone.
worm dancer.
He's
Six
much
years.
better at singing than he is dancing.
6 years of modern jazz, 4 years of tap. I mean, I am a dancer. I just can't do the worm. That's what we tell
you're
people.
full of baloney. Is what
Welcome
you're full of.
to the train station. All aboard
What
the
a
training
random
train.
start.
Yeah, I know it was fun. It was fun for me, although it kind of hurt my knees. I didn't expect
Your knees
it.
aren't supposed to hit the ground when you do the worm.
I think you'd be surprised.
We're gonna YouTube it later.
I think. Oh, SD Cruiser is able to join us today, and I've got some good news for SD Cruiser. Something we were talking about a little bit earlier. But welcome to the train station. All aboard. Today we're going to be talking about the heel position and what a powerful skill it is for your dog. Whether it's walking in heel position, we're going to talk a little bit more about the actual
Control position.
the sit-in start position, which is also referred to as the control position, and how
What
helpful it can be.
We refer to as the control position
Yeah.
because I don't think everybody does this.
Oh no. It's a really valuable skill, and we're going to talk about why it's so valuable for you and your puppy, and how you can avoid having like some you can just skip over having some strange problems with your training, as well as be able to give your dog really great information when you're in that sit and start position. So we're looking for that from you guys today. Now I see people are jumping on. I see Dan and Ellen Luton are dropping the train,
guys.
the train icon. If you're watching us on mobile or you have access to dropping a train icon, drop the choo-choo in the chat. I'd love to see it.
What are the things after the choo-choo?
I think they're train
Oh,
cars.
okay.
Heather O'Connor has joined us. Hello, Heather. And Melissa Salt is here as well. She says, hi, guys. Hi there, Melissa. We are talking about sit and start, heel position, control position today, and why it's so helpful for you. Now, I'm feeling really energized. I just woke up.
And
I
then
had a
his
nap.
wonderful fiance made him dinner.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling supercharged for this train station, and I'm pretty excited to share that with you guys. We see
I actually feel
do
more
it.
energetic this week than I did last week.
Well, good, because I have lots of overflow, so you're going to feel even better. You Do It YouTube channel is joining us here in the live stream. I met him at Vid Summit. Really, really cool channel. Definitely go check that out. Sarah Hall, I see we're live on Facebook now. Sarah Hall is joining us on Facebook, and thanks for joining us, Sarah. Just a couple of minutes left in the pre-show, so we are getting ready to fire it up and get right into the train station and all aboard the training train. I see Becky Parker. What did she drop in the chat? A little bit of, and I'm excited to see that.
Thank you.
Dan and Ellen Luton mentioned, I think it was Warren, maybe an E-tram station. Oh, I guess a train station ritual. Yeah, Carla Martinez dropping the
I think
in the chat.
that
Lori,
they're making reference
they're
to the
making me
worm.
happy. You guys are making me happy because we're dropping train stations everywhere in there. You can now there's like a membership option. It's like Twitch where you can like follow somebody on YouTube and you get access to some special emoticons or emotes for the chat. If we decide to offer like a membership option for this channel, I'm definitely going to be putting some great big trains as the train station emotes for you guys.
You need like a train with like a dog driving it or something.
Yes, well, that would also be awesome. And we could probably get that done. Mel H. has joined us. She says hello. And Heather O'Connor says, time for the train station.
Worm, sorry, puppy sent the message before I could correct it. That's funny. And it was not the worm. It wasn't anything close to the worm. You guys are way
No,
too nice.
it was like pre-back injury dance moves
Yeah.
or like knee injury. Something awful was about
Not
to
good.
happen. No, it didn't turn out very well. Today we're going to chat a little bit about some of the advantages of having your dog in that heel position and all of the challenging things that you can overcome by using that position, by using that sit and start position with your dog. So I think it's going to be a really helpful one for those of you with a dog in training, or if you have a dog that's like really energetic and you go to a busy place and your dog is really quite a handful, or you have a dog that jumps up on people. This skill is going to be really, really helpful for you specifically.
Basically like having an off button. So if you have a dog that's like rambunctious or easily distracted, it's like it gives you that position that you can just get your dog to assume so that you can have like 2 seconds to get control and to be a little bit more in charge. So it's something that we start off really, really early with all of our own dogs, and it leads into, Ken has referenced it as start position a few times so far, and we call it that because we actually use this particular position to begin a lot of the training exercises that we teach, because it does such a good job of calming the dog and getting them focused before doing stuff.
What a great lead up to welcome you guys to the train station. I can't be any more articulate. So on that note, I'm Ken Steep.
I'm Kale McCann.
Welcome back to McCann Dogs.
I will not be doing the worm.
So let's get into things. I've also added a new animation that you guys can check out. We've had some questions from people. They were looking for us from Instagram to YouTube, or from YouTube they wanted to check out like our Facebook. So I've included all of our social. I've got a social string there. It's our Twitter, our Twitch, which is something that I'd like to do a little bit more, some IRL stuff, so we don't have to keep all of the live on YouTube. But for those of you who have joined us here in the train station, Kale did a really nice job of setting this up, and that sit and start position. And it's such a powerful thing, and it's something that I think sometimes our students underestimate how powerful this position can be. You hear us sometimes talk about when we took Beeline down to when we went down to the lake, and it was a really busy area, and we
went down to the lake. Sounds so like Hicktown.
Yeah.
We went to the Burlington waterfront, which happens to be a lake.
Yeah, there's a lake there.
It's like not like in the boonies. It's like really busy.
No, yeah, it's quite a busy area. It's like right, downtown. Essentially, the downtown offloads to the outlets to the lake. It was really helpful to have her in that sit and start position, in a really control position at her side. We're going to do two things. We're going to show the get in. We're going to show you guys how to get your dog into that position. Then we're also going to talk about how it can be used to be such a helpful tool for puppy training, I think. Do you want to talk any more about that sit and start? Like, what else would you use that nice heel position at your side for?
Well, before I even physically walk with my dog, heeling and holding position at my left-hand side, this sort of exercise is a precursor to that. So I want to teach my dog how to sit beside me. Our dog training methods are that of a choice-based system. So when we practice this exercise, it's really, really important that we don't force the dog to maintain a sit at our side. We actually sort of assist the dog to help them make the decision, and then we kind of leave it up to the dog to figure out how to stay there on their own. Because what we know about dogs is that if they have to use their brain, they're forced to use their brain without us sort of manipulating them and holding them into position, they actually have way better emotional control. So if you think about like that wild and crazy dog, if you usually look at what the owner's doing, they're usually holding the dog completely on a tight leash, and then the dog is just completely brainless, either pulling or barking or doing things crazy, and people just hold their dog back. And when you do that, the dog has zero responsibility for their mind or their body. So this exercise is something that gives the dog a very productive job to do. And it also forces them to show emotional control, because they need to choose to hold a sit at our side, calm and under control, all on their own. And of course, we have ways that we deal with the dog if the dog doesn't do that. And of course, we have ways to deal with the dog when they do make great choices. So So it's a really great, an easy exercise, but it really, as I mentioned before, it's the basics for teaching them to walk at our side, to teach them to stay, to teach them not to jump up on people. We use it for so many of our control exercises. So it's one of the most important things that we teach, especially at our grade 1 level of classes.
Yeah, and as Kale mentioned, the McCann method uses choice-based learning.
Don't cough, you're going to make me cough.
Oh, we have contagious coughs. I've been struggling with this cold for the past like 3 weeks now, and I felt like I was getting a little bit better until I sat down to do the live stream. So bear with me. I hope we're not nobody's wearing headphones. The McCann method is choice-based learning. So, we're showing them how to be right. If they make mistakes, then we'll show them again. We'll, replace them in that position. We'll let them decide, and we'll reward them for making a great choice. I see PO32007 says we have that dog. I think he's talking about when, he'd have the dog sit in at your side, maybe jump up when they get too excited or they're really rambunctious, and having them in that control position can be really, really powerful. ST Cruiser says my pup knows to sit and start where he will sit right next to me by my heel. However, it stops from there. Heeling is something I've always wanted to work on.
Yeah. So what we're talking about today is sort of the stationary version of heeling, just keeping the dog at your side, because there's lots that you can work on in that moment. Actually teaching the dog to heel, or we actually use the word let's go in our classes to teach them to walk at your side. It's a little bit different that what we're going to focus on today. We can touch on it a little bit, but I think we probably could do an additional live stream
for sure,
specifically on that, just because it's a really, really big topic with lots of different variabilities. But hopefully, if you are having good success with your dog sitting beside you, maybe we can give you a few ideas how to proof that to make sure that you can bridge the gap between being stationary and then eventually moving with your dog.
For sure. Now, it's something that I didn't mention off the top, and you probably would have noticed when you logged in to YouTube, but today's episode is all of the super chats are going to Deaf Dogs Rock. So we have a pretty close connection to the to the idea of supporting, helping, working with deaf dogs. Actually, one of our instructors, Instructor Carol, has a four-time. It's Thorpe. Yeah, and if you guys have watched some of our other live streams, and actually we have a video on the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, I've linked it in the card above. Where is he a four-time world champion now of disc dog?
Oh, he could be more than that now.
He's a remarkable dog, but Carol was working with him, doing some exercises, and thought, geez, he's just not responding how I'd expect him to. And this is after they'd done a lot. They'd already accomplished a lot.
He was 4 years old, or almost 5.
Yeah, and she discovered that he was deaf. So for those of you who are watching the live stream and you want to donate to Deaf Dogs Rock, that would be great. The other cool thing that I've set up, and hopefully it works now that I've said this, but if you donate $5 or more, those lights behind us, they'll flash.
Those in lights, our room, they'll flash?
Yes, they'll flash in here. So
that's cool.
But anyway, every penny goes to Deaf Dogs Rock, and
Somebody
we
needs
think
to make
it's
that
a really
happen.
good cause. Deaf Dogs Rock, rehomes deaf dogs, provides resources for people with deaf dogs. They do a lot of really good things. So I thought it'd be a good choice. So let's jump into showing your dog how to get into that position. Let's just quickly show the maybe the get in.
So you're asking me I should get a dog?
Yeah, do you want to? I don't know who you want to get.
Unless you want to be my dog and you want to get in beside me.
Yeah, I don't. I've already injured myself from trying to do the worm. Those of you who were here at the very beginning, all of you early birds, got to see me try to do the worm to 0 success. It was a pretty disgraceful dancing attempt. Again, my area of expertise is mostly tap, sometimes modern jazz, so that's not my thing.
Liar. Wait.
But when Kale's going to bring out one of these guys, if you have a dog training question, drop it in the chat. We are going to take a couple of breaks throughout the live stream, and we'll stop our talking, and we'll talk to you guys. Answer any of your questions that you might have for your training, for your puppy training, dog training. We'll try to keep it, close to or revolving around some of what we're talking about today. But if you've got something you think is really important that you'd like us to answer, now's the time to drop that in the chat, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. So we're going to head over to the train station now, the dividing line. I didn't give you much light here, but the dividing line, is right there. Okay, so looks like it's time for the train station.
I didn't realize that I was going to be training tonight, so I'm actually wearing Ken's firefighting sweatpants, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw attention to them now.
You've got to back up just a little
everybody
bit so you can really
see
show them off. There you
How
go.
ridiculous they look.
Yeah.
But I'm
Oh, they look
super
great.
comfortable and very happy. Okay, so the get in position is essentially when we teach our dogs to, am I looking straight ahead, sweetie?
This camera here.
Okay. When I'm going to teach my dog to move in and sit at my left-hand side, and as we've mentioned before, we would use this in lots of scenarios where we want our dogs to be under a little bit more control. So this would be like final product. So once he already knows it, Slam, get in. Good boy. So see when I say get in and I tap my side, he will maneuver himself into position. So even if I move a little bit, get in. Good, get in. Yes, get in. Yes, good boy. Get in. Get in. Yes, good boy. So wherever I go, wrong pocket. If I ask him to get in, he knows to move in and sit at my side. But the other thing that's really important about this is that get in means, here, buddy. Good boy. Get in means get in and sit beside me and remain in position until you're released. And that's what really is so important about this exercise, because a lot of people will say, oh, my dog can do this, but then somebody walks by that's exciting, or there's a person that rides by on a bike, or there's something exciting that happens, and then boom, the dog's out of position. So we train this exercise to teach also emotional control. So he learns to remain here even when there's distractions. And you may notice that I have a leash on right now, but it's completely loose. So when we're doing this exercise, we're not holding our dog tight into position. You can see this is not a very pleasant experience for my dog. I don't want to do that. Sorry, buddy, you're a good boy. So I need to loosen up on the leash and give him a choice to either stay beside me or to get up and go from there. Now, Slam has had thousands of repetitions of yes and rewards for maintaining the sit at the side. So he finds this particular position beside me extremely valuable, and that's sort of what we're setting out to do. So he feels sitting beside me is equally as enjoying as jumping on the person in front of him, which I would rather him not do. So that's sort of where this is at. I don't know if you want to get into other things or talking things.
Well, why don't I come over and you can show just how you can reinforce him for remaining in position. You're going to have to turn just a little bit.
Okay.
So that, yes,
So if I'm working on this exercise, before I add any type of distraction or person or anything like that, I need to make sure, hey, how about you sit and not sniff, mister? I need to make sure that my dog understands to remain in a sit until I release him with very minor distractions first. So let's pretend that we've done that particular part. We're going to show you now how you would start to introduce a distraction like a person. So right off the bat, I would even start off, if I have a really friendly, overexcited dog, and my dog is able to hold a sit on a loose leash with somebody even standing at that distance, I would yes and then reward. So to do this, I need to have food in my left hand and food in my right, or in my leash in my right hand, so I have good control. I'm feeding with my left hand so that he stays at my left hand side. If I switch, he's gonna cut in front of me. So it's important that we're holding these items in these hands. So as Ken approaches me, Grand Slam, stop sniffing the floor. As Ken approaches me, I'm going to yes and reward, yes, good boy. Each time he gets close, yes, good boy. What a good boy, yes. And if my dog is settled enough, you might even start introducing somebody actually petting your dog. And this is the foundation training that we use for teaching your dog not to jump up on people when they approach. So he's going to approach, yes, good boy, good, yes, yes, good boy, yes, excellent. And then I can reward as he goes away. Now, this looks really easy because I'm feeding him and I'm focused on him, but you wouldn't believe, you know what? Stop that, please. Get in here and sit. Enough. You wouldn't believe how many people do this. Yes, good boy. So I didn't give poor Slam any information at all, and I basically just sort of hung him out to drive. Now, thank goodness he's a well-trained dog and he knows his job, but if I was working with a brand new dog that didn't really have much experience at this, I would really be setting the dog up to make some pretty bad choices there, and that's really, okay, buddy, okay. And then that's really not our goal when we're training. Our goal is to set our dogs up to be successful so that they're not learning by making mistakes. So if you haven't done very much of this, it's extremely important that you're rewarding a lot. And in the beginning, you're gonna do that quite often. And then obviously the progression would be starting to reward a little bit less. Now, I don't need food or a leash at all when I do this exercise with my dog anymore. But when I'm initially training it, I'm actually using a lot of different helpful tools to make sure he's making good choices.
Yeah, that's awesome. I see something really exciting, and
I didn't touch base at all if they do anything wrong. So I don't know when you want to talk about it. I'm going to come back to it after questions.
Let's come back to it in just a moment. I see SD Cruiser said he dropped a $5 super chat for good to Deaf Dogs Rock. Thank you very much for doing that. And he said,
our lights didn't light up.
I know. Well, you know what I'm wondering is if our outside lights just blinked. Because I've set it up for a different set of lights.
So everybody on our street thinks we're having a party?
They might. So what he said was, let's have some disco training disco going on, distraction training. Oh, I feel even worse. Yeah, absolutely.
I can turn the lights off and on a couple times if you want.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I can even do it now. And Kale will dance, do a disco dance. Let's see if I can do them just manually. This is just specifically for SD Cruiser. Maybe they did go and I just missed them. I think we would have noticed that though.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for that, SD Cruiser. He is a longtime viewer
thank you very much.
Of the train station, and it's going to such a good cause. We really, really appreciate that. And I will have to double check. It's hard to make some of these things happen, without actually having super chats coming through. So I'll have to figure out how to make that for sure blink lights next time. But it's really, really cool that you donated. So as we are back at the what's that?
There's some good questions when you're ready.
Okay, yeah. Okay, go ahead. So SD Cruiser says disco worm dance. Maybe that's not safe. I discovered that I cannot do the worm.
Ken's going to wake up tomorrow and be like, my shoulder hurts. I'm going to say, well, you shouldn't have done such a poor worm. My
lower back as well. So drop your questions in the chat. Kale's got a good one. So, what is the best way to correct a puppy from the laying position when beside you to the sitting position?
That's a good question. And I think that, first off, I want to point out that you guys are doing a good job at acknowledging that if you ask your dog to sit at your side and they do choose to lay down, that you do want to address that. Because we have a lot of people where the dog starts in a sit and then the dog just sort of says, I don't really feel like this anymore. And they lie down, whether they're lazy or they're tired or whatever. And a lot of people say, oh, well, they're not going anywhere, so that should be enough. And if you want to be a good dog trainer and if you want to have a well-trained dog, one of the things that you must have is high expectations. And you need to be really black and white with your dog because that's what they prefer and that's how you get them more well-trained. So I'll just show you. Want to go to the train station?
Yep. Over to the train station. Here we go. Great question, guys. I was out of toot toots.
You're never out of toot toots. Good. All right, so can you see me?
Yep.
Okay, so say for example, I was working the sit at the side and he chose to lie down. And I would actually, the same thing I'm about to show you is exactly what I would do if the dog gets up out of position as well. So my leash is in my right hand. I would cut my leash in half and my right hand's going to hold on to the leash. Hold on a second. Hold on to the leash very close to the dog's collar to ensure I have good control. And all I'm simply going to do is lift him up with that leash. Sit. Good boy. And then once he's sitting, I'm going to put slack back in the leash. Yes, good boy. And then if he's able to hold that sit, I'm going to yes and reward. Okay, I would do exactly the same movement, except I would control the bum a little bit more if he got up. So if he got up out of position, okay, cue, mistake. I'm going to shorten up on my leash. You can see he already knows what to do. So my right hand goes to the collar. My left hand's going to sort of scoot his bum right in beside me so he's tucked in nice and close. And then I'm going to stand up nice and tall and put slack on a leash. And again, once I am able to have a dog sitting on a loose leash, I then can go back to reward from there. So what I don't want to do if the dog makes a mistake, and this is what most people do, is I don't want to get a piece of food out and say, sit, and lure him into position. I don't know about you, but I have a very, very smart dog, and it will not take very long for my dog to say, when I lie down beside you, you get food out and you help me into a sit. So I bet if I keep lying down, you'll keep getting food out. I just said lie down, and the two dogs beside just lay down. You're going to keep getting food out and getting me back into the sit. So if he gets lying down and he's not supposed to, I'm actually going to use my leash instead. That way the only time he gets the food is for when he's doing the correct behavior. So that's really something important to keep in mind. I think the other thing that's really important to note is that we don't want to maneuver our dog into position or fix them into position and then give them a cookie right away for the same reasons as I've explained not getting the food out before. So dogs learn within 1 second. So if Slam makes an error and I correct him back into position and I help him to assume what he's supposed to be doing, and then I say yes and I give him a cookie right after, his little brain says, oh, I know what the food's for. It's for when I get up and you put me back. So one of the best ways to clarify information for your dog is to maneuver them back into position if you need to do that. Loosen up on the leash, stand up, and even count to 3 in your head. And praise your dog while you do that. Good boy. 1, 2, 3. Yes, good man. And then while he's holding position, I can yes and reward. That way my reward is spaced out enough from my fix that he's not going to be confused as to what he's being reinforced for and what he needs to be fixed for. So that sort of helps things be a bit more clarified. Now you can see he's being really, really good, so I'm going to release him. That's why he's sitting patiently waiting for his magic word. Okay, yay. And then, of course, in between exercises, it's always fun to have a little bit of second of play so that they realize that training's fun. Yeah, good boy.
You can hear Slam really enjoys that.
Yes.
So
boy.
the other thing that when we talk about any kind of dog training, it's so important that you are clear and consistent with your dog.
Yes.
And having them in that position at your side puts you in a good spot to have the same mechanics, to replace them in the same position so that it's really clear for them. The last thing we want to be doing is confusing them. So because of your distance away, as well as the position that you're in, you're able to quickly guide him back into that sitting position if he lies down each and every time. It just makes it so obvious in their mind what your expectation is.
Hey, buddy, sit for a sec. The other thing that can be really helpful as well, and this is sort of a technique-y comment, but it is really helpful, is holding your leash, what we find is properly, and having your food and everything all organized. I think I sort of joked with my brand new class this week, and I don't think that people realize how many mechanics and coordination skills are required from a handler when you're training dogs. So one of the things that's important, if you have your leash, if you put the thumb through the loop of your leash and then you gather up, the excess leash in your hand, so it's coming out the bottom of your hand, and I know that's very specific, but that's going to allow me when I'm maneuvering the leash to give me the absolute best control. What I don't want to do is hold the handle of the leash, and when we train on 4 or mostly 6 foot leashes, if the dog goes to get out of position, they're really, really, really far from us, and then it takes more than 1 second to maneuver them back into position. So if I have my leash gathered up so that I just have a little bit of leash left over, I'm going to have better timing and better mechanics. The other thing that's important is that I want to have food readily available, but when I'm maneuvering my dog, it actually is way harder to do this when you have food in your hand, especially if your dog's food motivated, because what happens is they turn and they try to steal the food out of your hand, and you're trying to maneuver them, and the dog sometimes starts to somersault, and it's like a whole big thing. So if you need to maneuver your dog back into position for whatever reason, we suggest that you put your food back into your pocket. This is a really good one to wear a bait pouch for, so that the food is easy to get at. And then once the dog is settled and relaxed, then think about getting the food out and then rewarding very generously. But the mechanics of having the leash gathered paired with the food easy to get at on the left side, it will sort of make your timing better and your mechanics better, which is going to make the exercise better.
Yeah, Dan and Elton Newton have made a good point. I want to come back to it in just a moment because I think it's really important. But I see a couple of people people are talking about Adalie Londono and Jesse Setterstorm are talking about their dogs barking. If their dogs are barking in that sit and start position, that they're having trouble working. So what would your suggestion be for that?
Well, there's 2 things that I would do. Number 1 is when your dog's barking, the most common thing that I see people do wrong is they go shh, shh, quiet, shh. And they shush the dog as they're petting to soothe the dog, as if we would for like a baby that was crying. And remember, dogs are just as cute as babies, sometimes cuter, but they are not babies. So we don't
Bold
want to
statement, but I don't disagree.
we don't want to be interacting them and responding to them like we would a baby because they just don't think the same way. So if my dog's barking and I'm quiet doing that, that's in my dog's mind. My dog's saying, "Oh, mom likes it when I bark. She pets me and she talks to me in this sweet, soft voice, and I must need to do that." So number one, make sure that you're not accidentally positively reinforcing your dog and physically reinforcing your dog by petting and soothing them with your voice. So that's number one. Number two is if you think you can manage it in that moment, you may, even though they haven't gotten up, you may want to shorten up on the leash and place them back and just tell them quiet. And you might even lift up on the leash to remind them that what they're doing is just not appropriate. But in most cases, if the dogs are very highly stimulated, you may find that you're not successful doing that in that particular moment. So the last thing and the most important thing is that you need to make sure that you're able to change your location and lower the stimulation and the distraction by getting further away. So if it was like, I was walking through the park or something and my dog was really stimulated by, a soccer game that was going on or whatever. Just think of the scenario. I'm not going to stand right in the line of fire and, allow my dog to rehearse lunging and barking and being obnoxious. I'm going to remove myself from that situation, maybe entirely, or maybe just get at a far enough distance that I can see my dog making some better choices. And then once I'm able to reward those choices, then I might be brave and try to go a little bit closer, and then a little bit closer, figuring out what my dog's threshold is. I'm obviously not going to ban my dog from everything exciting. I need to work through that. But sometimes if you're not having success controlling the dog, what you have left to control is the environment around you.
Yeah, and think of your sit as a collection of things. Like, your dog needs to be really aware of the fact that they're sitting under control. Now, they don't need to be staring at you. We're not looking for that look at me. It's a nice skill to have. But what they need to be doing is thoughtfully just remaining in that position. It's their responsibility to remain in that sitting position.
Unless you ask them to, but they don't need to look at you. In fact, we sometimes don't mind if they look at the distraction and then they're able to see it and still choose to maintain the sit on
I would
loose
reward
leash.
that.
That is really, that shows excellent impulse control and emotional control if your dog's able to do that.
Yeah, which is good. Let's jump into the chat here for a second. I've got lots of great questions coming in.
Just go back to Dan and Ellen's thing about the treat within 1 second. Down. Yep.
Right here. Okay.
It says, thanks for clarifying that. I thought the treat had to be within 1 second as well after the good choice. Very helpful. Okay, that's really, really great comment.
Yeah, and this is a good point for all of you guys to understand.
So we definitely do want to be giving our dogs information that they are correct within 1 second of them doing the behavior. But in some behaviors, actually most behaviors, it's almost impossible to literally be feeding them within 1 second of that behavior, especially on this one. So remember, the word yes is going to be the ticket to your success here. So the word yes means at this exact moment, you're correct, and I'm going to reward you. So as long as you say yes at the correct time, it's okay if it takes, another moment or so to get the food out. You don't want to take too long, of course, but what you don't want to do is say nothing and then say your yes command late. The yes is by far the most important component, so you need to make sure that's well timed, and then if your food comes a bit after, that's okay.
Yeah. Good. I see SD Cruiser mentions.
Weenie.
Halloween was yesterday, Charlie's first. Lots of strange things as we walked. I found having him go to the start position made him go into focusing on me and not all the strange things going on.
Fabulous.
And that's the perfect use for this skill. When things are getting really chaotic and busy, it's nice to be able to have your dog move into that position. So I think that's really a great choice on your part. Dogs are going to do what's rewarding, and if they find that some going out to visit strange things and people, or maybe they are really worried about a situation, having them in that control position where they know something rewarding is going to happen is really, really smart dog training. Really, really good. Let's see. What else do we have going on here? Knockout02 says, thanks for answering my comment about crate training the other day. Really appreciate it. Yeah, you're very welcome. We go through, I go through our YouTube videos a few times a day, seeing if there are any new comments or anything. So if you guys are if you watch one of our videos and you feel like, geez, I'd like a little bit more information on that, I'm happy to answer it. So make sure you drop those comments in the comment section below. Heather O'Connor asks, how long would I recommend working on this skill daily with a 4-month-old puppy?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So what do you think for a 4-month-old puppy, Kale? And it's not a specific amount of time. I'll tell you that right now. Rather than working on, for 10 minutes at a time, break it up during the day. You're going to maybe work on it once in the evening, once in the middle of the day, and once in the early evening or something like that around your schedule. But you're also going to include some of your other exercises. So maybe you work on it for 3 or 4 minutes, or maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Short amounts of time with a 4-month-old puppy.
Yeah, really, really short amount of time, because this is very mental for the dogs.
Yeah.
And so and you could even, and so when we say up to 10 minutes, that wouldn't be like one long sit the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I might have my dog maintain the sit. Like when we do it in classes, we start at about, would you say 30 seconds? Would that be?
At the most, probably.
Yeah. 30 seconds, I would say. And then we let the students say, okay, we release the dogs, we have a little bit of a jazz, and then we will line them back up and we'll do the exercise again. So we do it multiple times, but for short periods of time. And then as the weeks progress, the goal is to lengthen that amount of time and then to increase the amount of distractions and bring the distractions closer to the dog. So when we first start, we have distractions, but they might be more mild, and we would use them quite a far distance from the dog. And then as the weeks progress, we might bring the distractions in a little closer, so it's a bit more tempting, and we might bring higher, more distractions.
Yes. And
after that,
I'm going to ask the question that I think all of our live stream viewers are wondering. When you said,
what are you going to say? Because you have a funny face.
After we do that, you have a bit of a jazz. What does that mean to have a bit of a jazz? What is that exactly?
That you go like this.
Oh, you jazz hands. So after your dog's successful, break out the jazz hands. Yeah.
That's a specific McCann method tool.
Oh, yeah.
Designed by Cale McCann.
Yeah, clearly. And not often used. Or maybe it's underutilized. I don't see it.
No, I just mean have a little play with your dog.
I
don't know why I said little jazz. It just seemed like the right thing in the moment.
Yeah, some good questions about rewards. Heather O'Connor says, what type of rewards do you use?
Well, today I'm very, very, very boring because I am using his dinner.
Yeah, but it's a sliding scale.
Yeah, I'm in a little room by myself with no distractions, and I don't want my dog getting a very large waistline. So when there's not much distraction going on, I tend to just use my dog's food, because then they're not getting more treats than what they're supposed to. However, if I go to another place that might be more distracting, like dog classes or out for a walk or whatever, then I try to use much higher value rewards. In fact, one of the things that we recommend that everybody does with their training is create a 5 ranked value list. Mm-hmm. So number 5 would be the lowest, not the lowest, but like a treat that your dog likes but isn't crazy about. And then as you go up the scale, number 1 would obviously be just the showstopper. See, I'm all about jazz and
yes, I know.
It's
because we started off doing the worm.
I know.
I think
number 1 would be the most delicious thing in your dog's mind. Maybe it's steak or chicken wieners or hot dogs, or which is also chicken wieners. Cheese, block cheese is a crowd favorite. Something
that your dog loves. You're going to learn very quickly what your dog
and they're
loves.
all different, so you do have to experiment with things. But yeah, my personal favorites is I use these. We make tuna treats for our dogs, so we home make our treats. We can certainly we have a video for that, so we will leave you a link so that you can try that with your dog. They're very healthy. They're really easy to use because they're moist and easy for the dogs to eat. Anyway, so I use that a lot. I use chicken wieners a lot. Leftovers, if we have chicken or something for a night, if we have leftovers, instead of throwing it out or saving it, we cut it up into little pieces, and then I'll train my dogs with it. Mm-hmm. We try to stick to really healthy food if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy Black says, doesn't the dog get easily distracted with the food on the same size? How do they stay
That's a good
focused on
question.
you if they can smell reward food that close? She has large breed dogs.
I have an exercise for you, Tracy Black.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't just for little border collies. You know, we've done these exercises. We at McCann Professional Dog Trainers, we help over 500 dogs every single
Yeah, I
week.
actually have a
to be-
Newfoundland in my class that just started, and a Great Dane that just started.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we've had
Great
Irish
Pyr
Wolfhounds.
Cross.
They're all of the big dogs, and they do present some unique challenges,
Yeah.
but nothing that can't be overcome. And I'll let Kel talk to you a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
so we like to have the food on the left-hand side because it allows us to reward the dog more easily. A lot of the methods that we use in our training deal with the method of luring. So we would put food on the dog's nose and then use it to manipulate the dog into different positions that we want to teach them to do, like sit down, walk at our side, all that kind of stuff. So we actually do want them to follow the food sometimes.
Yeah.
However, when the food is in our hand or in our pocket, we do want to teach the dog to have some type of self-control and to not just help themselves whenever they want to. So we do work a little bit of impulse control with the food, and we have a couple exercises that we do. One of the exercises is we'll take some food and we'll hold it in our hand, and then we'll cover it and we'll offer it to the dog, and we work on the dog being, gentle and polite around the food. But we also work on another one that is sort of like impulse control or a rule out game. So I can probably
Sure,
just show
yeah,
it with
for sure.
Slammy. Okay, buddy.
Headed on over to the train station.
Boy.
Just give me one sec here, and I'll switch to camera 2.
Weenie Woo, come here. Wait. Okay, can you see me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer some food to Slam. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually wait for him to choose not to try and get it from me. So when I put it out for him, I'm sure the first thing he's going to do is try to get it out of my hand. And if he does that, I'm simply going to keep the food hidden away in my... Thank you, buddy. I'm going to keep my food hidden away in my hand, and I'm going to wait for him to choose to back himself off. And as soon as he does that, I'm going to yes and then reward him. And my ultimate goal is to be able to present the food to him in an open hand, just inches from him, and have him make the decision not to snatch it from me. It's my opportunity to give it to him, not the other way around. So I'm going to just offer it to him and see what he does. Yes, good boy. Now, I don't know if you could see that really closely, but his nose was close to my hand, but he was deliberately not trying to get the food from me. So I said yes and reward. So I'm going to try and open my hand a little bit this time. So he tried to go near it, so I closed my hand. Yes, good boy. Yes, good boy. So if he tries to go near it, I'm going to close it and take it away. Yes, good boy. Oh, you are so smart. Yes, good boy. Now that still means, though, if I put the food on his nose, okay, buddy, I can move him around. Yes, good boy. Sit. Good boy. Yes, good man. Oh, you're too cute. You're so cute. Yes, good boy. So he says, well, if I can't steal it from you, how about I do a trick for you instead? Yes, good boy. That was so smart. Okay, good boy. It's a great little exercise to do. It's really easy. And you can just play around with it, just when you're sitting around. Hold on, Bean, over here. Come here, come here. You're going to knock that over with your big butt. Come here.
Slimer's going to knock over the computer. We don't want that.
There's a lot of things going on under there, not for dog bums. So that's a great little exercise that you can play, and it really helps the dog to show a bit more impulse control.
Yeah, really
good,
good.
buddy.
So I see Madison has joined us. How's it going, Madison? Good to see you
Hello.
again. I'm just going to drop this. I haven't had a chance to read it here, but Daily Londono says she will ignore everything and everyone unless the person is really close. Dogs is another story. If she notices a dog, she'll bark and her mute button turns on. So it's really important. Again, you need to find that distance where you're going to be successful with her. So I might set it up. Maybe I'll go somewhere where I know there's dogs, but I'll be a tremendous distance away, somewhere where I know that she's going to be successful, and I can reward her from there. I can, make sure that she's making good choices for you. I think that's going to be really, really helpful to see some success with her.
Yeah, and also consider like what kind of treats are you using, what kind of equipment are you using with the dog? Is the equipment appropriate,
That's a good one.
for the energy level and size and all that stuff of the dog? There's lots of things to consider. I find one of the main reasons why people struggle with exercise too is if they're lacking any type of working relationship or respect from their dog. So the dogs who are the least respectful are the ones that will, deliberately ignore their handlers and say, I don't really feel like listening to you right now. I would rather self-reward and bark at that thing. So sometimes the answer is not specifically this exercise. It could be like what you're doing at home with the dog. How much freedom are they given? How much discipline and control and expectations do they have in their life? How much do you follow through with things? Or are you just, do you allow them to walk all over you in other scenarios? If you don't enforce that they stop barking when you ask them to, or get off the couch when you ask them to, or things like that, then why should they listen to you when you want them to hold a sit at your side? So, dog training has like all of these different avenues, and they all like lead to the same thing. And sometimes one problem isn't really that one problem. There's like 5 other things going on, and if you fix some of those
could be 5
things,
other little things.
yeah, exactly. They could be so small, and if you just sort of tighten those things up, all of a sudden you go back and work on this exercise, and it's like magic. The dog like totally gets it. So there's lots of little variabilities, but a quick fix could be getting yourself further from the distraction and upping your reward.
I think you'd be amazed how often we see someone who's maybe early in the program struggling with their stay. And, the dog's a wild and crazy little thing, and they're overall having trouble with a lot of their different skills. And then this student commits to working on the stay, really make sure that they follow through and show the dog how to be right, et cetera. And once the stay gets better, overall, things get a little bit better.
It over and over and
It's
over
such
again.
a great skill for the dog to learn to understand emotional control, to have some self-restraint, and it has a bigger impact. So when Kale talks about that, there's lots of little things that your dog might be doing when they're challenging your leadership a little bit, and it can make your life just a little bit harder. So look at some of those things. Oh, it does take time. It's not going to happen overnight for sure. So I see. SM, you're going to have to do more supervision. We have lots of potty training videos on the channel that are going to help you out, but 100% greater supervision is going to be helpful for you. I see Brent Russo has joined us again. Have a high prey drive pup from last week's live. We've been working on a fetch, and while on the long lead, he doesn't want to come back to me, which is weird. This high prey drive. Now, Kale and I, we've got 2 videos on the channel specifically about teaching your dog to fetch. Once we're done this live stream, I'll add it to the description of this video. Now, you guys remember, these videos are only going to be up for 24 hours. So if you don't catch the live, make sure you catch it shortly thereafter. But I think we can probably talk a little bit about what we did with Beeline in that other fetch video. I wonder if that would be helpful, where you can get some sort of toy that your dog loves that you can attach a line to. And that way you can bring that line, that toy, all the way in so that you can start the engagement.
Yeah.
You really need to build value on the end of the fetch exercise for your dog to understand that.
Yeah, you can
that's
put the
best
dog
part.
and the item, the toy, on a long line,
Right.
Or a lunge line, so that you can control it. But just from reading your comment there, it sounds like the dog just kind of wants to lie down and self-reward and not really include you, and that is so common. So many dogs do that, whether they have prey drive or not. Some dogs just, they want to self-reward and they don't want to share because they're young and they think that it's all about them. So, and that's okay. So when that happens, you want to pick the line up that's either attached to the dog or attached to the toy, and just even start off by like reeling it in like a fish, and don't allow the dog to lie down and chew on that toy without involving you. And use a phrase like "bring it here" or something like that.
Sure.
Whatever works for you. We say "bring it here," and then pull the toy in. And when the dog gets to you, take a hold of the toy, and don't take it from your dog right away. A lot of people will do that. They'll take the toy from the dog, and the dog says, "Well, exactly what I thought happened. I bring the
Right.
toy to you, and right away you take it from me, and I don't like that. So when your dog brings the toy back to you, whether you're assisting them or not, take a second to play a quick little game of tug of war. So tug on the toy, praise them, make them sort of feel like the king of the castle. The toy's in their mouth, you're holding on to one end, and you're really having like a jazzy time.
Yeah, really jazz it up.
Jazz it up. And then after a few moments of play, then maybe trade them, for another toy or a piece of food, and then throw the toy out again. And once the dog understands that when they bring the toy back, there's play, there's fun involved, and they get to go for the toy again, a lot of dogs will start to retrieve better. But you need to prevent the dog from self-rewarding during the exercise.
For sure.
Which it sounds like you're trying to do, but you just have to keep working at it.
Yeah. AZ.
Don't beg.
No, that's a really important point. AZ has joined us again in the chat. AZ says, hey, guys. De Landano says, good boy, Slam. Yes, Slam's an excellent little demo dog for us
He's
today.
our
isn't he?
perfect boy.
He's very, very good. Miss Lady Fair Pets, welcome to the train station. I know she's been on a few streams before. She says, hi, what do you do for a delayed response? I don't know what
scenario.
Yeah, we're gonna have to know a little bit more about what you mean for delayed response. But I know that someone had mentioned a little bit earlier about that their dog would remain in that position or move into that sit and start or the heel position, but they didn't want to sit, like as they were walking, the dog wouldn't sit. And I'll tell you, the more you build value for some of that position and at your side, the more likely your dog is to remain in that position. It's about building reinforcement. However, having your dog move in with a get in at your side will not trigger the sitting response from your dog when you're walking on a loose leash. So that's something that you're going to have to work at separately. And it could be something as simple as luring them into position or placing them into position so that they know, what that position is.
I can take it in a different direction as well. So
Sure.
When we're training our dogs, our goal is that the dog responds to the first cue and command that we give them. Each and every time. So we shouldn't have to tell them 4 or 5 times for them to, respond to their name. Or if we say sit, they shouldn't get, I don't want to say sit 5 times. We have really high expectations for our dog. So if I say sit and my dog looks around and sniffs this and then slowly goes into a sit, like that would irritate me. When I say sit, they need to sit quickly. So if my dog is delayed in the response because they're being distracted and disobedient, then I would very calmly say sit a second time, and then I would automatically help the dog into position, as if to say, you heard the word, this is what you need to do it. The only time I wouldn't be quite so strict, though, is if my dog was really, truly problem solving through something. Then I might give them an opportunity to sort of think about what they're doing a little bit more. But if I'm getting a delayed response because my dog is really distracted and just would rather not listen to me, then I'm not going to keep repeating the command over and over again. I'm just going to really calmly say what I need to say and then help the dog to be successful so that they're not learning to ignore me or be slow with how they respond.
Mm-hmm. So this is, and Miss Lady Fair Pet said yes. So
perfect.
that was a good answer.
Great.
Perfect response. Omar Espinoza says, hey, I got a pit bull and I got him a Kong toy, extra large. I wonder if it's too big. Is that the reason why I don't see him chewing?
Oh.
Now, that it may be. I mean, it's hard to know what too big is. It's a relative question, but
Typically they won't be too big.
Yeah, generally it likely is, and especially if you got like the recommended size. Kong has a sort of sizing chart on the back, but some dogs just don't naturally chew. A pit bull I would expect to be a little more likely to chew, but you might need to do something really simple like put something of value inside. So I might put a little bit of peanut butter inside that Kong and, get him or her a little bit more interested in it. And, there's a million different things you can do to make that Kong toy more valuable. I actually have a video on the channel that talks about 4 other ways that you can use your Kong. Maybe you need to put that Kong on a string or a rope or something and animate it. Maybe he's just not into like a dead toy, so to speak. He's just not into, the thing just lying there. That can sometimes get your dog to engage with those toys and spend more time on them. Having a dog that chews on toys or chews on stuff specifically dog toys, of course, is really good for them. It satiates their need to chew. It's good for their teeth. You know, there's a lot of benefits for dogs chewing. So I would work on that a little bit. Check out the video, the other videos on our channel. If you go to our channel page and then just search chewing, you'll probably find that video. But I've talked about some ways there, again, and some of it I've mentioned already, for your dog to get more interested in the act of chewing. Yeah, so this is a good follow-up. So Omar says, yeah, I got him to stop chewing because he would bite shoes and other stuff. I think he thinks it's bad. Now,
Aw, that's sweet.
Yeah, if he's being so trying to be so good, but what you should be doing is when you redirect him away from those shoes and other things, then you can give him that Kong like that. That's a great replacement for him because he clearly wants to chew, or she wants to chew. That's a great time to give him that thing, so that he can chew on, because those are the things that you want him to chew on.
And like give a good reaction when he like even sniffs it or shows any interest in it. Try to make it a little bit more excited.
Yeah, for sure. I saw some other stuff come in. Okay, Kyla Roche says, how do I choose between a gentle leader, prong collar, or a front clip harness? My 7-month-old German Shepherd Blue Heeler mix pulls a lot.
It's an easy question.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you want to take it then?
Really, what it depends. Those three particular things that you suggested are all sort of in different
classes of
dog training. Yeah. So you need to decide what you want your dog training method to be.
Well, I'll tell you, just to interrupt, sorry. I'll tell you that the harness is not a good way to give your dog information.
Throw that one out right away.
If you want your dog to be like, think about walking on a loose leash and sort of put the responsibility on your dog to walk on a loose leash, then a harness may make your life a little easier because, you think that it's easier to hold them when they're pulling, but it's a lot harder to teach your dog not to pull when they're on a harness.
And specifically a front clip harness is not very good for their bodies. I am really involved in agility, so I'm quite educated in, dog health and muscle and bone and all that, that kind of stuff. And I know there's a lot of damage that can be done from front clip harnesses because dogs aren't really designed to have something attached and moved at the front of their bodies like that. So that's just not a good idea. As far as the prong collar goes, you need to decide whether that's something that you're comfortable with. There are a lot of people out there that have success with prong collars, of course. We, however, do not condone them. We don't use them in our family dog training. We feel that there are other methods
other ways to do it.
Are kinder to the dog.
Well, we love the gentle leader. I mean, the gentle leader accomplishes all of those things, and it gives the dog such good information. And the other great thing about the gentle leader is it's so easy to transition off of it.
And I think that's important to talk about because a lot of people deliberately don't want to use a gentle leader because A, they think it looks like a muzzle, or B, they think they're going to have to use it forever.
Yeah, no.
And you can't just slap a gentle leader on and expect it to be perfect. There are training steps involved that you need to use in order to have success with it, or also how to wean off of it. But I've used a gentle leader personally with my own dogs many times, and it by far is one of my favorite tools. It has a great calming effect on my dog. It takes all the impact off of their neck so they're not choking and gagging. I have to use far less corrections and fixes with them because of the mentality that they have when they have it on. Do they love it when I first put it on? Absolutely not. They hate it. But it's my job to help them to feel differently about it. So we have a lot of really fabulous videos about the gentle leader that of course we can help you with if you're interested in that. But we personally do not recommend those other two items.
Yeah, for sure.
Other people might feel differently, but that's just how that's our view.
So Jane Watson, and it's a little bit off of where we were going, but that's okay. Jane Watson says, hello, I have a 6-month-old Doberman puppy, and I'm really struggling to get her to stop mouthing me. Any ideas, please? So it's I love the fact that you're obviously being I'm hoping you're being very clear about the fact that it's not allowed. Sometimes these young dogs struggle because maybe one member of the family will let them tug on their shirt or mouth their hand or something like that, and other members of the family don't want that. I mean, dogs are very black and white in how they learn. So it's really important that everyone in the household household is on the same page. So that's the first place I want you to start. I want you to make sure that everyone really understands. You just missed a couple of minutes ago. Kale was showing, I don't know whether you saw it, Kale was showing the where Slam had to sort of choose to sit back and not take food. That's a great exercise for teaching your dog some self-control or some self-restraint. I'm not sure how old your 6-month-old Doberman puppy. So I think your Doberman puppy is probably at a big enough age where like a passive restraint wouldn't work for that. So I want to be cautious about giving you any specific information how to fix this problem. But because I worry that it might be best handled by like a dog trainer in your area, a behaviorist in your area. And
where somebody can be in the same room with you at the same time to help with technique and whatnot.
Right. And a lot of this revolves around like what's setting the dog, what's putting the dog in this state of mind, and like what are the other things that lead to these events. So I don't want to give you too specific information. It just wouldn't be fair of me or helpful to you. So I think that, follow those rules. Everybody in the household doesn't allow the dog to put their teeth on them. Maybe work on some of those exercises where your dog needs to show some self-control. I actually posted a video on the channel a month ago or so about teaching a puppy not to nip your fingers. That might be a good one for your dog, as long as you aren't at a point where your Doberman's really taking a chunk out of you.
And just make sure that when your dog is out of the crate, and you should be using a crate to control the dog's freedom, that the dog is on a leash, because you'll have a lot better time controlling the dog with a leash on, using the leash to get control of the dog, rather than trying to grab at the dog or chase the dog or simply just yell at the dog. You want to be consistent and follow through, but the leash is the most consistent and the safest way to deal with unwanted behavior.
Yeah, it's really great. I think we call it a house line, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a leash. What I'd do if I were you, especially with a dog in this situation, is I'd go to the dollar store and get like the cheapest leash, cut the loop off of it, and then every time the dog was out of his crate, he's wearing the leash every single time. Until you resolve some of these little issues, he should be on a house line so that you can interrupt the behavior, redirect, whatever you need to do. But make sure that you do have control, and you don't need to reach in, and you don't need to like pull back and worry that you don't have control.
Look at all those nice comments about the Gentle Leader.
Yeah, it's a really powerful tool. I think, the changes I've seen Gentle Leader make, again, with a little bit of information and instruction from for the student, it's so nice. And I
Great
love
for young dogs too, and any size of dogs. We've put them on like giant breeds, but we've also put them on like little tiny dogs that just want to have their nose glued to the floor all the time. A lot of people think, oh, he's little, it doesn't really bother me that much when he pulls. We actually had somebody say that this week. It doesn't matter if he pulls. He's little.
I know.
It does matter.
Yeah. Well,
it's not about pulling. It's about listening and like being respectful.
Yeah, and for the dog's sake. Like you're not helping your dog learn learn to have good self-control.
No.
If you're allowing them to pull at the end of a leash, it's just sort of mixed
All
messaging.
dogs need to learn it.
Yeah. So that's nice to see. Kayla says, thank you. Well, you're very welcome.
You're welcome.
Oh, this is interesting. So Becky Parker asks, can they slip out of a Gentle Leader?
No, they shouldn't be able to if it's fit correctly. They can, however, slip out of a Halti. So a Halti is another type of headgear that's out there. Gentle Leader is a different product than a Halti. So if you are looking to get something like that, we do highly recommend the Gentle Leader. Mm-hmm. It just has 2 straps. One goes behind the head, up behind the ear, so ears where it sort of deals with that pressure point, and there's just 1 strap that goes around the dog's muzzle, but it fits in a way that it doesn't squeeze the dog's muzzle. The dogs can still, I've played Frisbee with my dog with a Gentle Leader on before. She can open her mouth to catch a Frisbee, no problem with it on. So no, they cannot slip out of it, but they can slip out of a Halti. So if that's where you're getting that confusion, but they can't.
And this makes me think a little bit about some of the people that are here for specifically like heeling in at your side for walking.
Yeah.
It's a great tool for that. I see Lila Caudle from Facebook asks, when you transition away from the Gentle Leader, what do you use? Well, here's the great part about that piece of equipment is that at first you can use it. So you'll simply slip the nose loop off.
I might even have one actually.
Yeah,
right here.
maybe we can show it. You can slip the nose loop off and double clip it to the flat collar. There's like a flat collar part on the Gentle Leader, and this is that brand name specifically because I love how you can wean off of it, phase off of it so easily. but you can double clip to the flat buckle on the Gentle Leader's neck collar, and you're basically using just a small flat collar. So it's really, really, it's really nice to be able to do that.
Wait. Funky.
So a couple of good questions.
Go.
Yeah, so Becky mentions we've had some scary walk situations, and Hap has been so scared that he slipped out of his collar. Well, with the Gentle Leader, that can't happen, because it's got the nose loop on. As long as it's fitted appropriately. The other thing, knowing Hap, is his collar's too loose. He shouldn't be able to slip out of his collar. People often have their collars just a little bit too loose. You should just be able to get 2 fingers sort of between the collar and their neck, and that it sits up nice and high on their neck, so that can't happen.
This is a really ratty looking one because it's very, very well used. But basically it looks like this. So this part goes around the nose. Beeline, come here. Be my demo dog.
Yeah.
She's upstairs. Bee! Here she comes.
It's coming zooming down
Come
the
here.
stairs.
Happy to.
Oh my
Girl.
goodness.
Oh, there she is.
Came flying onto camera.
Hi, love bug. We're going to show the Gentle Leader. Oh. Okay.
Dan and Ellen Luton say, can you use the Gentle Leader right away, or would you integrate it if it's really needed? Yeah, I would wait.
I would use it right away.
Would you?
Yeah. If I knew I was going to.
With their pup?
Oh, with their puppy?
Yeah. I don't think you guys need it. However, it's
I guess not.
It's easiest to start on a flat collar. That's sort of like the ground floor. Yeah, that's sort of like the ground floor of training equipment. And then you can start to, if you find that your dog's pulling on leash, or they need to be a little calmer of mind, if they're maybe they're getting really big and you're finding it hard to control them, the Gentle Leader is perfect for that. So then I might go to something like a Gentle Leader. But
I can't remember very well, but
okay, hold on one second.
hold on, wait a second.
Oh my goodness, she's very.
Turn
and she's not our most photogenic dog. She wants to come over for a visit.
I just got to turn her that way so you can see her head.
Okay.
So hold on, turn your head so they can see, love. Good girl. So see how it goes over not top of her nose and then behind her ears here, so it sits up like that. But the nose piece, this is so hard to do when you're backwards. The nose piece, so see, I can get my hands underneath it. It slides to the end of her nose. It's not keeping her muzzle shut. This part here is up behind her ears, and that way I can turn her head however I need to. But if she's being good and I don't want to use it anymore, I would just slide the nose piece off of her nose, pull this through, and then I would attach my leash to the D ring underneath her chin, and then I would just tighten the neck strap so that it sits up high on her neck, which is easier said than done right now. Okay. And so now I have the leash attached here. So it's a little higher up on her neck, so I have a little bit more control. Sorry, B.
Yeah, so and that's, the Gentle Leader just becomes a flat collar that easily. And so let's say and we're not sponsored by Gentle Leader.
No.
We get no kickbacks from Gentle Leader. We just believe in the product, and I've seen it change a lot of students' lives with their dog training. So I really, really like it. We actually get ours custom made from Gentle Leader that have metal hardware too. So if you have access to that, then I would definitely grab one with metal hardware if you can.
You can only get them from us.
Oh, can you?
Nowhere else.
Okay.
Nowhere else in the world.
If you are in Canada, then contact us at McCann Dogs. Go to McCannDogs.com and get a Gentle Leader.
They make them special for us.
Yeah. Okay, so Joe Harker says...
Hi,
I
Libby.
didn't know there's a difference between Halti and Gentle Leader. I hate Haltis, but I'll look into Gentle Leader for her Chihuahua.
Yeah, you get it extra small for a Chihuahua.
Yeah, they're little tiny, and we've had hi cutie pie. We've had Chihuahuas in class that had to use them because they were such wild things. But it's such a great tool, and an entirely different set of mechanics. Like the mechanics are different. How it fits on, like it doesn't slide up and down the dog's nose. It's just we like them, and I know it's sounding like a Gentle Leader commercial, which
yeah.
it's
Let's
not.
change topics.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that SD Cruiser did a donation today in the Super Chat. If you're just joining us, today's Super Chat donations all go to Deaf Dogs Rock And if you've been on the channel and checked out some of our vlogs, you'll know that one of our instructors, Instructor Carol, has a deaf dog named Thorpe. He's a 4-time world champion of disc dog, and actually amazing, when we're talking about healing, amazing little healer from some of the obedience stuff
really
that she
good
does.
at rally obedience.
Yeah, and it's remarkable to see them work together. So we want to thank SD Cruiser for the donation today to Deaf Dogs Rock. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every single week to help you to have a well-behaved 4-legged family member. Now, I need to make an announcement. We're going to be moving the show back to 7:30. I know we've had some requests. People are having trouble getting from work or getting whatever to be able to watch the show. And Kale's actually teaching in this next upcoming session.
Actually, that's a lie.
A little bit later?
I'm taking a class
Okay.
myself.
So she's taking a class.
Which
So-
I don't get to do very often.
Oh,
so.
yeah. No, you definitely want to be
And
able
it's
to do
B.
that.
B gets to take a class.
Yeah.
Got
so-
to train our own dogs, too.
Oh, for sure. And they're so darn adorable. You can't help it. But so our shows and our upload, everything's going to go to 7:30. So on Mondays, you're going to get an upload at 7:30, a new video to help you, have a dog who listens, who comes when called, to sits and stays, all those things, as well as like trick training and all the fun stuff that we get to do that we want to, spend more quality time with our dogs. And I hope this channel does that for you. So the uploads are going to move to 7:30, and the train station is moving to 7:30 as well. Now, next week, we're going to have a Tuesday agility live stream. So if you're a dog agility fan, this next week is for you. We're going to do something fun at 10 o'clock on Tuesday.
We're
That's
going to
after.
have to think of a fun topic.
I know. Well, it's after all of our dog training is done for the day on that Tuesday. So we enjoy them. It's very different than doing the train station because I don't get the whistle. And we do agility related stuff. Do agility related stuff. And it's lots of fun, and it's a totally different setup. So I think you'll enjoy it. But all of you guys asked amazing questions. We want to thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, tons of great discussion here. And we want to thank you guys for watching. And on that note, I'm Ken.
I'm Kale. This is Beeline.
And this is B. Happy training. Bye for now, guys.